Welcome to EXO Fleet's Insights, where every mile counts. The podcast where fleet data turns into real-world decisions. Each episode, we unpack what's really happening across mixed fleets, fuels and sites, and how better insights leads to better performance, lower costs, and fewer surprises on the road. So let's get into it.
So with that in mind, I suppose the return on investment that organisations can identify as a consequence of doing this, because I can imagine with the capital costs being a major consideration as you try and transition, you just can't afford to get it wrong. That's the number one issue. Number two, if you put the charges in the wrong place, continuity of service is affected. So reputationally and commercially, that's going to affect you as well. And then making sure that the vehicles that you buy are of the correct spec and that you haven't over egged the pudding with batteries you don't need such big batteries. So I suppose by running it through a digital twin, it's the best way that you can move forward. And the typical return on investments that people get on that, is it fair to quantify it like that, or how would you quantify it?
I think one thing I would for those two pieces around the costs and the return on investment and it does depend on what you are building and to what granularity. So if you have, for example, a hotel that wants a digital representation of the hotel so that it can monitor occupancy rate, electricity consumption, temperature control, and we'll say staffing and staff coverage, their digital twin is going to be less complex and require less infrastructure versus DHL's. So DHL's digital twin is quite large, quite complex, concerns a lot of real-time updates, concerns a lot of IoT structure, but they're doing it for their own benefits. In fact, the other one that I didn't have reference there, workplace accidents, it's nearly a 20% reduction in workplace accidents. So for them, there's a big safety concern as well. So in terms of return on investment, Joe, there's the phrase, measure twice, cut once. So if you have the ability to kind of model where you're at and where you want to be, that gives you the opportunity. And again, it's just part of the planning phase nearly to see what's there. And likewise, if you want to see what you have and get what you have at the moment on screen in front of you, kind of as a simplified form, that again, I see as a great return on investment. I couldn't put it down to a euro symbol, but it is part of, I think, bootstrapping kind of any big business decision, any type of capital decision. We all do risk assessments. This just seems like a sensible addition to any kind of risk assessment if you were looking at it from that point of view.
Yeah. So I suppose the system that we provide, then you're getting a forecast and then you're measuring against it on a daily basis, so you can tweak it and pivot if you need to. And as well, you can do your staged approach, which I think is, far less risky. So it's more about avoiding mistakes, I suppose, costly mistakes than returning on investment, but equally covering off your assurance of supply, which is a massive issue as well. How do you justify the value of a digital twin to stakeholders? So if you're trying to say, okay, you see it, you get it because you're in fleet and you're understanding that and you've been charged with this tricky job of transitioning vehicles across, and you have to go into the senior leadership team and ask for a few bob to get something to build a digital twin. How would you justify it? They're just like, it's just another techie trend.
Well, I mean, the first one is if it's good enough for massive manufacturing products, it can be good enough for us. But I think it comes back to that preemptive cost reduction, again, fuel savings, energy savings. What isn't measured, can't be acted on. So it's that piece of, if you're not measuring what you're using, how could you possibly save on your energy piece as well? You want to be utilizing what you have. And again, a lot of the vehicles now, and especially in a transition period, if you are going from your standard would say, carbon emission vehicles. But if you're going from there into essentially a computer on wheels, there's a lot of data coming forward. So you want to be able to utilize that. And it is different because EVs, or would say no emission vehicles, they're built from a point of view of data being part of the product, which is again an unusual part for the motor industry in itself. But kind of everything down to a granular detail is measured. Now, again, whether that detail is required is a separate matter down to each manufacturer. But from a stakeholder point of view, it is that case of you have the likes of DHL, Borgosh, Eli Lilly doing these massive projects and seeing the value from that point of view. From a kind of a vehicle point of view, it is a case of if you don't see it, if you're not measuring it, you can't improve upon it.
Yeah.
And that would be my kind of main points to any stakeholders looking at it.
If anything you heard today reflects the challenges you're facing in your fleet, get in touch with us today at Exofleets. We're always happy to talk through real-world solutions. exofleets.com